I think it's time to move on to episode 2 reactions for She-Hulk. So dropped on Thursday. All episodes will on Disney Plus. Another 30-minute episode. Ricky Flex, do you think this new episode was better or worse than the first one? Give me your impressions.
In first impression, much worse.
I agree.
In my
I'm in
opinion.
the same boat.
I don't know why I'm seeing the opposite from everybody. I'm seeing headlines, finding its groove and things like that. I think the opposite. I think it starts when you press the play button. When you press the play button on a Disney Plus show, usually it's like 38, 39, 40 minutes, and they have like 6 minutes of credits. So it hits a little over the half-hour mark. When you hit the play button for this episode, it was 30 minutes almost flat. That means this show was like 22, 23 minutes. For me, that tells me this was a filler show. This was a filler show, and that's exactly what it was. This just expanded her origin story, right? You introduced to the family, and it just sets up the rest of the season. And I think they already did that in episode 1, and they could have just made that an hour and made it easier. Nope. Instead, we're going to do a filler episode here with Marvel references, the more feminism, not subtle feminism themes being
in the workplace. Yeah.
In the workplace, especially at the bar, everything. Family, cringe. What I did like, which I wish they centered around the episode, was like the proving yourself, getting that new job, not out of your actual work and resume, but by your looks or what you are. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like they should have worked around that. And then subtly feminism, Marvel references and whatnot. Instead, no, we went the opposite route. So for me, this was a big underachievement compared to episode 1. And my takeaway afterwards was if they're in LA and she gets a new job in LA, how is Daredevil going to play a part in this at a Hell's Kitchen? I don't know.
So I agree with a lot of your points. I agree with the runtime. I think that actually played a detriment to this episode. It was boring. Like, there was not much that happened. It was a lot of time with her like trying to find a job, her getting a new job. After the first one, you had the great interaction between Hulk, and then you have her basically on her own. You get a short little bit of Hulk in this episode that we will talk about and what that whole scene means. But I found myself afterwards kind of more excited for what the future holds rather than what I just saw. Like you talk, like I didn't even notice the Easter eggs until I looked on Twitter afterwards. I think it was hard to kind of find those Easter eggs. We'll get into those in a sec. This is a spoiler, obviously. Hopefully you've seen She-Hulk. This is a reaction episode, a reaction review. But yeah, I love like her one-on-one with Bruce Banner made the first episode, and that was like juicy. Compared to this one, it's like her finding her groove, but also you're teasing Emil Blonsky, and it kind of puts where we are in the MCU timeline. It seems like it's also just establishing the story still and not much pushing forward, right? It's like teasing, but we're already 2 episodes through. I believe there's 9 episodes in this show, so 2 down in 30 minutes, like for each of them. Maybe you extend that one a little bit, and then you have her do some She-Hulk stuff. Like the only time we saw her She-Hulk was in the bar at the beginning where she did nothing, and then her walking through the workplace. And that's pretty much it that you get with She-Hulk. I do want to talk about the humor here. I don't think it was very good. I think there was a lot of
cable feel to it.
There was definitely a lot of cringy comedy. Whether it's the dude giving the interview where the person interviewing the guy after, like, kind of reflecting on that moment in the courtroom where she kind of goes ham against Titania. And then also I will mention no follow-up to Titania in this episode, which I thought also was a little bit weird and just didn't make sense after barely knowing anything about her in the first episode. Like being named She-Hulk, very cringy. That dude at the bar who worked with her at the first firm, I found very awkward, where he says, I'm going to go find a chick to like hit on or something like that. He says,
I'm going to talk to it.
And then also, I think Dennis was the guy's name. Then when she goes to visit Blonsky, like no superpowers inside, like I cringe at that type of comedy. And then also her brother Chet is intolerable. Like just makes you suffer whenever he's speaking. I hope we don't spend much time with him. That whole sequence I didn't love either when she goes to family dinner, although you get to know like what her dad's like and that type of relationship. To me, all boring, too much talk, not much action.
Yeah, for sure. And just all the themes just aren't subtle at all, like I talked about in my initial reaction. And the family dinner, yeah, like that seemed out of place and pointless, but then the dad pulls her away. So I guess that's what you can go with, the reasoning behind it. But I think the acting there was pretty bad. I
Yeah.
don't think it was that good. So it felt not CW drama level, but acting level. And that also played a part in my like this is like reaction pod basically because we just watched it this morning. It's like, yeah, like it's kind of like a cable sitcom.
Yeah. And then the fourth wall break that they've been bragging about and how it's like similar to a flea bag. They do it once this episode. It seems like they're not really buying fully into the fourth wall break. They'll just do it once per episode. I think, well, they did it like what, twice in the first one,
Twice in the first one.
the beginning, and then also when she's with Hulk and Hulk hears her. But like when Hulk hears her in the first one, she does the same thing in the workplace with Holden, her boss at the new firm, and he doesn't hear her. So I feel like there's something not consistent about the fourth wall break there.
That's another thing with the fourth wall where it feels so forced and they don't do it often enough and clear enough. Like you said, the clarity of it is just off to make it work. I just really think it's not working at all. And I think like if you think like the Deadpool fourth wall break just has a clear, obvious example, it's like everything else stops around him, and that's what you're focusing on. Here, it's like she's walking with her boss while talking to her boss, and then it's like a run-on sentence. She like looks behind to us and starts talking. It's like, oh, she's talking to us. That's just like very not clear. And again, you barely have it. So when you do have it and you don't utilize it correctly, it's even more apparent how bad it is.
Yeah, it's just like if it was a little more consistent, maybe throw 2 or 3 moments in there, like really take on that identity. It makes it not feel as forced. When you do it that one time, it's like, oh, you were just looking for that moment when she's in the workplace. And what does a woman feel in that situation? I get it. You can do that, but do it also at the bar. Maybe you throw a little quick quip right there. It doesn't have to be an extended run-on sentence like you're talking about. Just a quick pan to the audience. This is what's going on. This is what I'm thinking in the moment. Boom, done. I do want to talk about, because I think what was exciting about this episode is actually what's going to happen outside of She-Hulk potentially. And there are a couple things that are set up in this episode. Let's talk about Hulk. All right. First off, she has a phone call. She wants permission. So She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters, wants permission from her cousin, right, Bruce Banner, to take on the case, the parole case for Emil Blonsky, aka Abomination, played by Tim Roth. Went during the conversation they have on the phone, right? Hulk says, and this is a funny joke, and I actually really did enjoy this, a very meta, where Hulk is talking about his run-in with Abomination, and he says, that was so long ago, I'm a totally different person now, literally. And that literally that he says, obviously referring to the fact that Edward Norton is the Hulk that takes on Emil Blonsky in the 2008 The Incredible Hulk. And I found that to be one of the best jokes in Marvel history, because like finally they acknowledge that, and it's like something that's like hung over their heads, like how much I even connect Mark Ruffalo to the 2008 Incredible Hulk, and I think it would doing it that way in this show was so perfect. Like, and I'll let you speak in a sec. I just want to finish what the scene kind of encompasses. So then you have the phone call ending, and then Hulk, you find out once he hangs up, he said he's got something to take care of. And then he is on the ship that appeared from Sakaar in the first episode in outer space. So amazing cell phone reception for the Incredible Hulk there. I would love to know who his supplier is in that aspect. But what do you think about that sequence and the joke, I guess?
Yeah, I agree with you on all fronts with the joke and the conversation. I think shifting to what he's doing on Sakaar, it seems in the Twitter sphere and Marvel conspiracy Reddits is that in the comics he had a son on Sakaar named Scar. So this could mean that he could be going to his son, which he doesn't know about yet, and or if he doesn't want to be the Hulk forever, this could be a good out for him. So whenever he does stop being the Hulk, he could just, or like Mark Ruffalo, that is, they could just say like, oh, Hulk is on Sakaar going into the future. I think that this could be a setup for the end of Bruce Banner.
I think the opposite. This is the opposite. We are going to get, I think, off of this, a Hulk solo movie that we've been desiring for so long. Mark Ruffalo has talked about, right? He's wanted to make a Hulk movie for so long. The rights issue between Universal and Marvel is something that's been ongoing for 15 years. But guess what? I did a little research, Ricky Flicks. So according to the direct, I did a little internet Google searching. And I got this quote, and it says, as the Incredible Hulk hit theaters in June 2008, the 15-year period indicates Disney will regain distribution rights to the Hulk character in June of 2023, at which point Marvel Studios would be able to begin production on a Hulk movie that Disney themselves would distribute. I think we're building up to a World War Hulk movie. In World War Hulk, the comic book storyline, you have Scar, his son, playing a major part in that story. There's also another separate comic book storyline where it's not World War Hulk, but he goes to the planet. I don't know how the exact story goes, but it builds on Hulk's relationship with his son, right? So I think very interesting that, and I think it's almost guaranteeing that we're going to see more Hulk in the future, which I love. Like, give me the World War Hulk movie. We've been dying to see a further exploration of Mark Ruffalo as the character since he debuted in 2012's The Avengers. I think he's going to get his opportunity. I think he really wants it, right? Mark Ruffalo can do whatever he wants. He's going to keep doing the critically acclaimed projects that he always does. But given the Hulk movie, he very much deserves, similar to like how Black Widow got their project, Hawkeye got their project. Give Hulk a movie he deserves. He's a big enough character. I think it's happening.
Okay. You got me with the June 2023 comment.
Yeah,
you got me. So
it's lining up perfectly with this show.
The Sun comment makes sense. The Sun comment makes sense.
Yeah, no, it would definitely make sense.
Why else would Sakaar be there? We were thinking from episode 1. This kind of makes sense, and that would kind of lead into a movie. And saying with the rights clarity, that I'm with you. But I do think after the movie, that could mean that they could get it out there after World War Hulk movie or whatever Hulk movie they decide to do. That could also be an out after that.
Well, Hulk's so yes, Secret Wars for sure, right?
You would assume so.
You can't not have Hulk anymore. In that movie.
Like,
right?
Iron Man even be in there. We'll like Captain America, like all these major players from Secret Wars in the comics, they're dead or they're retired. So like you already have prominent members missing. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not in Secret Wars.
But he's also a part of this what is known as Phase 4 through 6, the multiverse saga. He is literally here for the multiverse saga, you know? So I feel like he's going to be in that movie. I also want to talk about the fact that on the ship, I think it helps lend to the idea that his son is on Sakaar based on the comfortability he has on the ship. He doesn't seem like he's like scared or afraid of what's happening. He doesn't seem like he's panicking. He like has his arms folded above his head. It seems like he's kicking back and relaxing. I think the next question that we have to ask is, do we know who his mom is? The child's mom is, if it is the son that he's going to see. And the only person that I would think of is Valkyrie, but no way that happened. But that's the only like woman on Sakaar that we come to know that has a relationship with Hulk in Ragnarok. So who do we just not know who it is?
That's my prediction. I don't think we know who it is. I think they'll take it from the comics, whatever it is in the comics. I don't know off the top of my head. They're just going to do that, I think.
I'm happy for our guy Ruffalo. I think this is we're gonna get a finally an MCU Hulk movie. I think it's coming, Ricky Flex. I do want to move on to another potential project or a future of an MCU character. Let's go to Emil Blonsky, and let's go to the scene where Jennifer Walters transforms back from She-Hulk back to attorney, right? Jennifer Walters goes to Emil Blonsky, looking to kind of see if she's going to take on this case, wants to hear his side of the story. I just wanted to get your initial impressions on this scene and Tim Ross' reintroduction into the MCU.
I think it was all right. I think it was good. Namaste vibes to it, of course. I think more so that's interesting is the ending related back to Shang-Chi. Is that a variant or is that the Emil Blonsky that we saw her speaking to? That's what I'm more interested in as a takeaway
Whoa.
in this show. That's what I'm really interested. Is he really Namaste, or did he actually escape prison and go to that, or is it a variant? That's what I want to know by the next episode.
I loved this scene. This was my favorite scene in the episode, just because it really gave you a different perspective on Abomination. The fact that it sets him up as more of a sympathetic figure, and it kind of says he wasn't just like the all-out bad person, right? That he is kind of viewed to be following the events of the Incredible Hulk, sets him up as a sympathetic figure, and one that maybe will have an opportunity for redemption later on, aka in Thunderbolts. I think the way they're setting him up, like when Emil Blonsky is initially working with Thunderbolt Ross, trying to basically take down the Incredible Hulk, he thinks he's doing a duty like for the government, right? And he thinks he's going to view himself as Captain Bloody America, as he says, right? Like how he drops the bloody there. But I think that this is a great opportunity. It seems like the Thunderbolts is a group that wants to earn redemption. When you think about John Walker, like Baron Zemo probably going to be there. I feel like he's going to take a very similar turn in this character as Baron Zemo did in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I feel like we're going in that type of direction. And I kind of understood. I felt like the audience was also like Jennifer Walters in that situation where they're hearing Blonsky talk. And she's also saying like, yeah, maybe it wasn't your fault that the government was pumping you with this freaking serum that turned you into a monster. And seemed like he has control over it. Maybe MCU fans won't like the comedic elements that are now attached to the Abomination, but it kind of has to fit in here. But I just like the idea it might take the path of Zemo, and we could actually get more Tim Roth in the MCU. Do you think that's a possibility here?
Yeah, I think the Thunderbolts is a great path for him. That would make sense to add to the group as well, a crew, a different variation there. I think that we forget the Incredible Hulk as a movie. He was destroying the city, and then Hulk had to jump out of a helicopter to save the city.
Yes, but he also didn't know what he was doing, apparently. And I don't know if he had control over Abomination at that point. He says he now has control over him. He can bring him out whenever he wants, similar to like a Jennifer Walters as She-Hulk. Maybe he didn't have that capability beforehand, or maybe just learned from his decision or from his past, I guess, right, while he's been in prison. But I did grow sympathy for him, just saying. And I more of like empathy, like more of understanding of his character, and maybe he's not the same level of evil as a lot of other MCU villains, in my opinion.
Right. Right. And then just quickly, talking about the Shang-Chi.
Oh yeah, we're not done with this scene for sure.
Yeah, like the reason why I call it a variant, okay, is I'm assuming, hey, like if it's not a variant, then clearly he's just lying through his teeth about the redemption, namaste, right? And then escaping prison. But the reason why I think it's a variant, or it could be a variant, is because if you remember in Shang-Chi, Wong is talking to Abomination saying, like, you're pulling your punches and things like that. So it's clearly not the first interaction they've had together. So he's been escaping prison all this time. Really? Because he clearly has a relationship, and Wong's not going to visit him in prison. So I'm just interested if and the guards clearly aren't in on him, like leaving every week to go to this underground fight club. So I definitely think it's two different people. If it's like a consistent thing where he goes to this underground fight club, or you're basing Wong.
So you're basing it on the idea that Wong has an established relationship in Shang-Chi, and there might be two Abominations in the show.
Yeah,
one might be the villain of the show,
correct,
alongside Titania. I like that theory just based on like those interactions from Shang-Chi, but I think it also helps establish with that scene and that callback to Shang-Chi with the underground fight scene that where we are in the MCU timeline. I think people were assuming this was after Shang-Chi, but this is happening during those events, which I think was a smart way of putting us in, like giving us more of clarification where we are in that MCU timeline. And it also provides that connection, how Wong is going to be associated in the show. And Wong, the star of Phase 4 in the MCU, if we're being honest, when is he going to get his Disney Plus series? I can't wait. Like, I was wondering how Wong is going to be associated here, but I guess it was kind of obvious that was going to be Abomination, but now we have that entry, right? Probably going on next episode because Jennifer Walters is going to have to track him down, assuming that is the same Abomination that has escaped prison.
If Wong ever gets a Disney Plus show, then they should just stop Marvel altogether.
I did have a this was going through my mind. The fact when Jennifer Walters is walking through, right, the law firm that hires her, right, Holden Holloway is bringing her through, right, showing her the ropes, forcing her to walk as She-Hulk. They have a superhero division now within the law firm, this major law firm that gives them very lavish working conditions. It just makes me think we have too many heroes. There's too much. And it's
agree.
There's such an influx. And I think this is going to help lead into or segue into like the Easter egg that everyone's talking about from this episode, the reference to the one and only Wolverine. But before we get to that, I just feel like people aren't shocked anymore by what they see. You have to go to other planets because they're just like, I feel like the whole world is overpopulated with superheroes and nothing is surprising anymore. There's got to be stakes that are way high for these characters, right, to actually do something about it. And then it even talks about Jennifer Walters' mother at the family dinner says that she has a superhero friend that she gave Jennifer Walters' number to. And I have a theory upon that we'll get to. But I just feel like we're so overpopulated with heroes. It's just people aren't shocked by it anymore. And that people don't feel like the danger that they did, let's say, when like phase 3, when you have Thanos wiping out half the universe. Just doesn't feel this like that danger level anymore.
Yeah, and you sense that from the courtroom scene in the first episode. I completely agree. Like, I think that now that we're going to these secondary, third tier, fourth tier characters, even more so than like an Ant-Man, like I think that's telling something. So I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, it's just sprawling with characters now. It's almost too much. Let's go to the Wolverine aspect. I didn't see this Easter egg. So first of all, Jennifer Walters checks her phone from her mom saying, "Are you coming to family dinner?" What is the was it cover? What is it called? What's on your phone? Background. Phone background?
Oh yeah.
On the phone background,
screensaver.
It's I don't know. Yeah, is that what it's called? But it's Captain America's butt, right? And obviously connecting the joke. But beyond the Captain America butt, in the bottom right corner on the screen, it says "Man with Claws," like basically tears up bar. And obviously that's a reference to Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me think about how the X-Men are going to be introduced in the MCU. And I think it kind of points out that if the Feige doesn't plan on going back in time, maybe to show the origins of Wolverine, instead it's going to pick up where he is. Is he a part of the X-Men? Is he not? I just want to get your thoughts, any theories you have when you saw that headline.
Yeah, so when I saw that, I immediately thought, okay, this kind of connects to several months ago where we had Taron Egerton rumored to be Wolverine. And I'm like, oh, are we going to see him in this show at some point? And if they do that, then we got to tone down the Marvel Disney Plus shows because that would be so disrespectful. I think Wolverine is someone that's had multiple solo movies, not a Daredevil where he was in a show before and a failed Ben Affleck movie. Love that movie. Sorry, it sucks, but yeah, I love it. This is Wolverine, and we're going to put him down to this level. I think that would be incredibly disrespectful. And I think this is kind of showing you there's a potential for him to show up in this show.
I think that was intentional. They want the buzz to get going for the show. Yeah, I would say it's less than 50% chance that he shows up in it just based on this headline. That might just be like a nice wink for audiences teasing like the arrival of the mutants. But also at the same time, but I think of each of these episodes have a post-credit, every single one. And maybe the final post-credit is where Wolverine is being charged with a crime, walks into Jennifer Walters' office, and then we move on from there. That is like the literal last final post-credit scene. Maybe they have 2 at the end because they got to show what Hulk's up to on Sakaar, right, leading into the future of the MCU. But I could see that potentially happening. But I don't think it's a strong chance. I think they're saving Wolverine for a much bigger stage as opposed to a Daredevil who's getting a TV show. You know what I mean? Like Wolverine, I doubt he's getting a TV show. He deserves the on the large screen presence, you know?
Yeah. All right. I don't mind that.
And then I want to talk about the phone call that Mrs. Walters, right? Jennifer Walters' mom talks like the conversation they have at dinner. She gives her a phone number of a friend who works at a coffee shop to Jennifer. I think this has got to be Frogman. This is going to be Frogman in the trailer. It's been teased. I doubt it's Daredevil. Daredevil does not work in a coffee shop. He's in Queens. He's in Hell's Kitchen. I think I did a Spider-Man connection there instead. They talked about wanting to use like characters in the Spider-Man universe. Maybe this is what they had in mind, like someone that needs to be represented, like the mom knows, the family friend. And Frogman is like very much like a kick-ass type of superhero, one that doesn't have powers but wants to be a superhero. That would make sense on why like her mom has connections to this other hero, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that this is the segue to get to know Frogman.
If someone wants to be a superhero, they probably don't have superpowers. So it definitely has to be something in that realm. So Frogman would make sense.
As we're like kind of wrapping up, because I think this is the big part. I guess the main takeaway from episode 2 is kind of like what the future holds, because as we said, a lot of chatter in this episode, not a lot of action. I think it's setting up a big episode 3 after kind of a lackluster episode 2. Any other further predictions that you have, all right, for this show or even for the wider scope of the MCU?
No, honestly, probably not. I think that we're officially settled in now. I think this was another like setup episode. Hopefully, we're officially settled in. I think in all, Jennifer Walters, played by Tatiana Maslany, I'm in on her. I think she's good. Officially now back-to-back episodes, officially in. I think she's good. But prediction wise, like I think with the Hawkeye comment, does he show up? Probably not.
Is he in California too, though?
I didn't think so, but
Because he's the leader of the
why
West Coast
mention his
Avengers.
name? Okay, well, it would make sense because they mention him, so maybe he does show up.
That's
So
I like that.
I guess on top of everything else that I've said, I guess Hawkeye would show up just based off that one quick comment.
They're setting up the West Coast Avengers. That's what they're doing with the
Frogman, She-Hulk, Hawkeye. Is that it?
I don't know who else. You could throw. Well, she's in the Young Avengers, but I was thinking Haley Steinfeld's Kate Bishop.
Oh yeah, right.
But
she's New York.
But it just seems like that's what they're kind of setting up here, like these different teams throughout like the world, which is kind of cool. And I just noticed that because I totally forgot that I believe he is in California now. One Clint Barton with the fan. Did you see on Twitter like Titania has her own Twitter account now?
No.
Yeah, so I think it shows clips of her outside the episode, just ones that she posted of Titania, like spray painting billboards and like signs of Jennifer Walters as She-Hulk, like basically canceling her out. But I don't understand how she's doing this because she's got to be in prison right now. Oh my God. And also a cringy moment of the episode is like the beginning when they call her a superhero influencer. You remember that?
Oh God.
That was a cringy part of the episode. It made me shake my head.
That was tough. I also the walk in the office. That might have been the worst CGI Marvel's ever done. It didn't look like she was even real, like there. It looked like she was. It looked like she wasn't even walking. That's how bad the CGI was set up.
It was terrible.
It was embarrassingly bad. I balked when I saw it. It was horrendous.
I like didn't even bring it up because I thought it was just like everyone just assumed it was just terrible. Like judging from that clip that we got for a teaser for today's episode, it just was bad. Bad. I don't know if it's gonna get better either. Any other final thoughts before we wrap up this reaction?
I'm just looking at this West Coast Avengers members list here.
Oh, I like this.
There's a lot of different areas that they could go in. So Clint Barton is like the number one founder here. You got War Machine mixed in here, Scarlet Witch, The Thing, Iron Man, Moon Knight. the Wasp. Like, you have a bunch of recruits and a bunch of other
Ant-Man,
potential.
right? That's San Francisco.
Ant-Man mixed in there, yeah, and the Wasp. So it's gonna be interesting what they do. Wonder Man, there's rumors of a Wonder Man TV show
There's a
that,
series coming.
yeah. So Wonder Man's also a founder, along with Hawkeye and War Machine. So I actually don't hate your thinking there. What I just don't see is Frogman. I don't see She-Hulk.
Frogman, I don't think he's gonna be a player. Like, he's not gonna be in Secret Wars. I think he's gonna be in this show and just be like an ancillary character for the remainder in the MCU. Like, I think it's just like a nice, like, they're giving him something. I don't think he's going to be an Avenger or anything like that.
Yeah, so I guess, like, I understand the rationale that we're just thinking of. I'm on board with it. I just think they might change things up from the comics, where the West Coast Avengers just might be, yeah, Hawkeye, the founding members there, and then we just mix it up with other people, because like Vision's another founding member, and I don't
Yeah.
know, White Vision. You're gonna have White Vision in the West Coast Avengers. That might be tough.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I just think it's closer to happening than people think, and I don't think many people are discussing it. We're think about different teams that are being formed right now. We talk about the Thunderbolts movie. Young Avengers are starting to shape up from these Phase 4 projects. West Coast Avengers might be next. All right. That's going to do it for the episode 2 reaction. That's going to do it for episode 138 of the Drive-In Podcast. Make sure you're following wherever you're listening right now. We're available on all listening platforms. You also might be watching on YouTube right now. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you also look at our House of the Dragon reaction episode to episode 1, right? That's on the feed. Make sure you also are tuning in for episode 2 of House of the Dragon and the reaction. That'll be out on Monday. Make sure to check it out. Any movies coming out on next week, Ricky Flex? What do we got?
So it's a tough weekend again. 3,000 Years of Longing comes out this weekend,
Okay,
but that
that's a
doesn't have a
potential
lot of
review.
momentum going right now. So maybe we got Lord of the Rings coming out next Friday. That could be a potential review potentially there of a movie. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll put it out to the audience
Draft,
members, see what you guys
maybe.
think. Draft.
Yeah, so maybe we get a Lord of the Rings draft going a little bit. We're going to have reaction episodes for the Rings of Power versus House of the Dragon. It's going to be crazy. Buckle up. Those will be coming out the same day. So that is going to be a hell of an episode each week, right, for the foreseeable future. Make sure you're also following us on the social feeds, Twitter, at the Drive-In Pod, Instagram, at Drive-In Pod. I also forgot, we're going to have a guest on, right, well, that will be unnamed. We're going to have a guest on for House of the Dragon reactions, so buckle up for that. And potentially for the Rings of Power, we can have a little variation there, little teaser for the folks at home. All right, that's going to do it for 138. For Ricky Flex and Dr. O, until next time, we will smell ya.